Hey, what's up guys, this is Ray and welcome to Asian Filmist, and the movie we'll be talking about today is a 2004 film Kibakichi, directed by Haraguchi Tomo'o and starring Harada Ryuji. And I don't know what you guys, but I'm a huge fan of monster movies. I think I might have mentioned that fact in a previous video or two, but not only that, I'm a big fan of tokusatsu, mainly like tokusatsu superheroes like Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, Ultraman. I dig that genre and I eat it all up. And for me, this movie is not only a creature film, it's also a tokusatsu film. It can be also a period film because the story takes place somewhere during that time of the samurais. Can't remember exactly when, but this is a whole mixed bag of genres. So the story of Kibakichi, it's about this wandering warrior by the name of, well, you guess it, Kibakichi, and he is a werewolf who can transform into a human. And he wanders the land after his village is destroyed, and he stumbles upon this lonely town. And this town, at first they seem to be just normal folk trying to get by, but it turns out this is a town full of yokai. And what yokai are spirits or creatures that reside in Japanese legends and folklore. And this town is full of it because in this world, yokai are actually in existence. So in this world, humans and yokai once lived side by side, but they are now in constant war with each other, so much that humans have pretty much decreased the population of yokai to just a few small pockets here and there. And this town, though, for the most part, they disguise themselves as humans so they can lure other humans into their gambling house. And so for those who lose in this gambling house, well, they become the town's dinner. This town is run by this boss named Onizo, who seems like a good old Yakuza boss, but he leads this town and helps make all the decisions for their well-being. And it turns out that this town might be in luck because Onizo is about to get in cahoots with one of the local lords, so that way they can they promise that they will build a kind of a sanctuary area that yokai can live in peace. So that's the gist of the story. So when it comes to the positives, well, being a huge fan of action and tokusatsu films, I approve of the action that's featured in Kibakichi. The action sequences are fun. They're worthy of being a superhero film. You can kind of consider it a superhero film in a kind of weird and unique way. So not only is the action tokusatsu worthy, but also the special effects. It utilizes a lot of special effects which are normally seen in tokusatsu. Anything from rubber costumes to prosthetics that make a human look beastly. In other words, turn them into a yokai. It's all featured here. And it's also a very interesting world that the story takes place in. It kind of feels like a spaghetti western of sorts. Hell, even Kibakichi is kind of the lone stranger stereotype. The guy, or the man with no name, kind of strolls into town and he walks into this middle of this big conflict. And I like this take on it. It's unique and it's different. I also genuinely enjoyed the music that was featured in the soundtrack. Granted, there were only like 2 or 3 songs, but every time the music played, I enjoyed it. It was very relaxing, very atmospheric, and did well to bring up the mood. But when it comes to the negatives in Kibakichi, well, first of all, as much as I like the action, there was very little of it. I think the action was pretty constrained to either the very beginning for a little bit and also the very final, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes were all action, but that was it. The brunt of the action was just in the final 15 minutes of the movie. And everything in between the beginning and the ending was pretty slow. Granted, for me, you know, I don't mind slow movies, but I think for this movie, you kind of want Kibakichi to get down and dirty already. You want him to start busting heads, but he doesn't do that until much later in the movie, like I said. Also, I felt like the way they depicted the yokai in this movie was pretty inconsistent. First of all, the yokai are meant to be kind of tragic characters. They want you to feel sorry for these yokai because of the history and all the stuff they had to put up from the humans. You know, they're kind of chased, their population is dwindled to just a few pockets, and you know, and they've been tormented by humans for over however many centuries or decades, can't remember exactly when. So they're meant to be these tragic characters. However, you kind of forget that once you see the yokai trap humans and they do all these grisly things to the humans, anything from chopping them up, eating. They actually show the yokai eating like a chopped off head and eyeballs, and you know, you kind of you remember, oh yeah, they're monsters. They do things that we aren't really trained to be sympathetic towards, and that's kind of inconsistent when it came to this depiction. I mean, I didn't mind the whole change up with that humans were the villains, humans were the bad guys, and good guys were yokai, these creatures trying to just live in peace. But when you see them do these grisly and grotesque actions, you kind of think twice. Also, there are some characters that pop in and out of the movie pretty quickly. First of all, the kappas in the beginning, the little turtle demons that pop out of the lake and meet Kibakichi. I mean, it was a great costume design. They look really scary, but they were in it for a minute. It's like that was kind of a waste. You make these really cool costumes for this 1 minute scene and maybe a little bit towards the end, but that was it. They could have been utilized more. And not only the kappas, but there is this character by the name of Anju who was a villager in Kibakichi's previous village before it got destroyed. So she's meant to be the only other survivor of this village, and her main purpose was just to build knowledge on Kibakichi's backstory, and that's it. They come in, they have a confrontation, and then she just leaves. And she's pretty cool when they bring her in. You kind of want to see more of her, but unfortunately in this movie they don't have that. But above all else, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but they didn't do much to really convince me to want to like Kibakichi. I mean, he's your typical quiet man with no name. He just walks in the neighborhood, but there's very few charming or charismatic qualities about Kibakichi other than the fact that he can turn into a badass werewolf, and that's it. He didn't really have any kind of strong will or motivations to make the viewer sympathetic with him, at least not from what I can recall. Because when you meet Kibakichi, he's kind of quiet, kind of stares into space, kind of just doing his own thing, and he just doesn't care. So it's like, at the first I'm like, why should I care? But overall, what did I think of Kibakichi? It was interesting to say the least. It was an interesting take on the man with no name trope, and it feels, like I said, it feels like a spaghetti western remixed into the samurai era. And it was a slow burn, and I do appreciate movies that take their time with the tempo. And I think for me personally, the tempo was okay, but I can see how its slowness can really affect some viewers and just have them get turned off by it. But I think even though after that, and despite the exciting final fight, I was kind of left a bit unsatisfied and just wanting more. So if you were to ask me if I recommend this movie, I'd say maybe. I would say, between a 1 and a 10, I'd give it a solid 5, maybe a 6. But it's definitely a must. It's definitely not a must watch. I mean, it's fun to watch if you're a fan of superheroes and tokusatsu, but it's definitely not a necessary film to watch. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Kibakichi. What did you guys think, or what kind of questions did you guys have? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And by all means, please support Asian Filmist through Patreon. It definitely helps the channel a lot. Plus, hey, did you know I started a Discord server so many of us fans could come together and chat about Asian films? Well, leave a comment down below, say you want in, and I'll extend to you an invite. And yeah, that's it for me. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you all again in the next video. Take it easy.